Hi, Steve Harrison here, founder of the Quantum Leap program for experts and authors and bestseller blueprint. And whether you want to be a best-selling author, whether you want to make a bigger difference in the world with your message or make a lot more money from what you do, invariably you need to do one thing, and that is you need to overcome the fear of self-promotion. The fear of asking for what you want, whether it's more money, whether it's asking for the publicity you want, whether it's asking for the speaking engagement that you want. A lot of times people really let fear hold them back. Well, I want to introduce you to Akshay Nanavati. Akshay has actually been to my seminars before. I was so wowed by what he shared about overcoming fear that I wanted you to have this message too. Akshay, welcome.
Thank you so much, Steve. It's a real honor and a pleasure to be here.
Well, you're a success coach, you're a soon-to-be author, you're a speaker, even an explorer. You're doing some incredible things. And I love your whole perspective on fear. Why don't you've got really a different take, and why don't you share that?
Sure. It kind of starts with just the general societal perception on the word fear. The word itself has a very negative connotation. When you say, people don't think of it as a positive thing. I've read books called Fearless or Be Fearless. And that idea to me is false. I think fear is a very natural, it's a very human thing. In fact, it's ingrained into our brain. Neuroscientifically, it's a natural response to risk or the unknown. It's how we process all experiences of life. So it's not a negative thing, it's a human thing. And I think the first part in kind of I hate to say even overcoming it, but really embracing it and doing something with it is normalizing it and accepting it that it's there, accepting that it's there, a part of you.
Yeah, and I think a lot of times you say people fight it. There's just like they expect to get themselves, if they read the right book or they work with the right coach, they expect to get to a point where they never will ever feel fear again. But
Exactly.
That's like saying I'm never going to feel hungry again. Even a nutritionist wouldn't promise that.
Exactly. And that's the real thing I think people struggle with. I just came back from an event where I got to speak in front of 3,000 people, and I met somebody there who came up to me and said, I just need to get over the fear and quit my job and start my own business. And I said, that's your first fault right there, is you're trying to get over the fear, because it's not going to go away. It's natural to be afraid of quitting your job and starting a business. Yeah. So what I shared with him and kind of with this audience was this concept of fear-vana. It's kind of it's shifting the relationship we share with fear to say it's not fear, it's fear-vana. It's a positive thing. And the way I define it is that it's a state of unity and bliss without fear that is only achieved through immersion in fear.
Wow. So to experience fear-vana, you've got to begin with the fear to get to that place where you don't feel it anymore.
Exactly. It's like, you're scared before you're speaking in front of a stage, but as soon as you're on the stage, you're in it. Athletes often call it the zone, but athletes are terrified before a big game. I've talked to many of them, many professional athletes, and God knows I do before my big endeavors.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, and why don't you talk a little bit about your perspective? How did you, because you've got some powerful teaching about this, and this is not something that, it's not like you're a psychologist or what have you, but you've really studied and you've applied this to yourself. Talk a little bit about that.
Sure, yeah. I read about a book a week on neuroscience and psychology to really understand the human brain and how it works a little better, and just life experience. I was in the Marines for 6 years. I did one tour in Iraq. I've climbed mountains all over the world in the Himalayas. I've broken 4 bones in 3 months from rock climbing and skydiving. So I've personally experienced a great deal of fear in almost everything I have done. And combine that with the research that I've done, I've come up with some tools to help people kind of embrace that fear and move forward with it.
That's great. So share a little bit about what should someone do if they realize that, I can really resonate with this point that a lot of times I let fear hold me back. Fear of writing my book, fear of putting myself out there. What should they do?
Sure. So one of the tools that I came up with is what I call the LMNOP cycle. And I'll explain step by step what the process is. So the L is language and label. So the first part of the L is actually shifting your body language. And a neuroscientist, I think her name was Amy Cuddy. Yeah, Amy Cuddy found that when you shift your body language and you kind of sit tall and you stand tall, it actually changes your biology. It increases testosterone in the body. So it changes how you perceive the world. So that's the first step, shifting your body language. It's the easiest way to immediately change your state. The second part is label. So actually labeling your emotion, that I'm feeling fear, I'm feeling anxiety. And again, neuroscientists have found that when you label your emotion, it reduces activity in the emotional parts of your brain and increases activity in the parts of your brain associated with focus and awareness. So that's the first step. It helps you step outside that fear.
Wow.
It's great. Sorry, go ahead, Steve.
Yeah, no, I think that's great, shifting the body and labeling, because then you really are able to distance yourself, almost to really observe your emotions.
Exactly, because most of us, we get caught up in it, right? Like, why do we say things when we're angry that we don't really mean? Because we get caught up in the emotion. So this is about stepping outside of that.
Okay.
The second part continues that journey kind of thing into the human elements of our brain as opposed to the emotional ones. And that second part is M. It's the meaning. So what is the meaning you've created to this situation, this circumstance, that has led to the fear? Because ultimately, all external circumstances have no meaning. We associate meanings to them. So in this case, in terms of self-promotion, it's, we get scared, and I get scared too, that, oh, why would CNN want to write about me? Or why would they want to interview me? Who am I? Am I just going to get rejected again? Because I get rejected 50 times before I get a yes. So that fear, and it was all a meaning we come up with. So the next step is kind of what I think is a revolutionary step, where the N is you tell yourself, it's not me, it's my brain. And this is where you literally separate yourself from your brain, because neuroscientists have shown that we're far less in control of our brain than we like to think we are. It actually registers, this movement of my hand registers in my brain at 1/10 of a millisecond before my hand actually moves. So the brain is in control much more than we like to think it is. So what you're doing now is you're separating yourself from your brain. You're saying, this is not me, this is my brain going through a pattern that I'm not even in control of. It's just a pattern as a result of all my past experiences.
Wow, I like that. It kind of lets you off the hook a little bit.
Exactly. Exactly. Kind of gives yourself a little break, right? Because most of the things, we judge ourselves for having the fear as well.
Yeah, you don't have to feel like a loser. It's just like, hey, it's my brain. These are things that I actually are automatic responses very often that I'm not choosing to have. So I like that. What's next?
Yeah, so the next step is O, which is opt for a new meaning. And that's where you actually choose a new meaning. And you're not going to necessarily believe in that meaning right off the bat, because you're still preconditioned in many of your past ways. But you literally consciously choose a new meaning. Like, okay, now the new meaning is that they're going to love my story. I do have something important to share with the world, and my message is important. It can save lives. It can change the world. So you're consciously choosing a new meaning. Even if deep down you don't necessarily believe it right now, you're consciously choosing that. And that segues perfectly into the final step, which is the P, and you take action in line with your higher purpose. That's the P right there. Because when you take action, it actually changes the wiring of your brain. Right now, your brain is set in a certain way. It's set in a way that says, if I feel afraid, I'm going to do the thing you're usually conditioned in doing, which many people, when they feel afraid, they avoid it, right? They go watch TV. They do something that's psychologically not demanding, psychologically easy, like watching TV or sitting down or relaxing, because then we don't have to face the fear. So now, by choosing a new action, you're creating a new pathway.
Oh, I love it. Yeah, so that explains why I'm eating ice cream sometimes that's my mechanism. So that's, I love it. I love it. And I think you've really distilled it down. So talk about, because you've applied this yourself. You're confronting your fears and fulfilling some of your dreams. Talk a little bit about the work that you're doing now. You're running across countries, literally. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so my big lifelong project now, it'll take me about 20 to 25 years, is to run from border to border across every country in the world to unite the human family and really create a space for peace and community in the world. I believe fitness and athletics can really change the world and lead to a more communal atmosphere in the world. So right now I'm running to do that. And as you can imagine, there's a lot of fear in this journey.
Yeah.
It's terrifying.
Yeah, and you've also been not only doing it, but you're promoting yourself too. You're reaching out. I'm glad that you're able to learn from me how to get publicity, and you're implementing what you learned. So what did you find as you go through that? What were some of the fears that came up before you contact CNN or whatever the media outlet is?
Yeah, I've learned a ton from the whole process from you and your seminar. So thank you so much, Steve. I've really gotten so much value in terms of the process about how to go about this. And there was always fear, that I felt like I was doing something unique. Nobody's ever done this before. Being a Marine Corps veteran, diagnosed with PTSD by the VA, I felt like I had a unique story to tell. But yet, there's so many pitches. There's so many people out there on the news. And I've been rejected numerous times by so many media. So it's kind of, there's always that fear, is it just going to be another waste of my time? Are they going to constantly reject it? And you really have to remind yourself that this is constantly just a part of the journey. So actually right above my computer, I have the words that says, every single person in the world is plotting to help me, do me good, and support me in manifesting my vision for the planet. So that serves as a reminder.
Repeat that one more time. That's great. Repeat that again.
I have the words that said, every single person in the world is plotting to help me, do me good, and support me in manifesting my vision for the planet.
Wow, that's great. Talk about really seizing and putting the meaning on what you're doing.
Exactly. That changes the meaning, right? So when I do get rejected by, say, one media outlet, I can say this is part of it. That one no is leading to the next yes. You know, it's just they're actually in service of me.
And what I like about that, what I've seen from my own life, is that's not just happy talk. I mean, a lot of times if they weren't interested in the story, it can serve you because it makes your pitch sharper. It helps you develop that you literally do get better by not experiencing success sometimes. So I love that. Well, that's great. Well, you know, I so resonate too with your running. You know, I don't know if you know this, but back when I was in my 20s, I was really into running, and I wanted to run the marathon. And my big goal was to run under 3 hours, to run the Paris Marathon under 3 hours. And I remember training all year, and I remember every single run. My fear was, I think I just visualized 2:59:59, and my fear was that it would be 3:00:01. You know. And but that visualization and ended up running a lot faster than that. I ended up running 2:44. So it was like I experienced what you're saying, where the subconscious mind just takes off when you can get past the fear.
That is very impressive, Steve. My God, I'm not nearly as fast as you.
well, it was a long time ago, and I won't be running with you anytime soon. You know, but talk about the work that you're doing now, and where people can learn more from you and support the nonprofit work you're doing as well.
Sure. My website is existing2living.com. That's the word existing with the number 2, living.com. Kind of that journey to stop existing and really living a full life. That's what it's all about. And the work that I'm doing now, I continue my coaching. I'm completing my book as we speak and getting more into speaking as well. But the big running project is really what I'm focusing on. And the nonprofit is going to align with that running project. So, for example, when I run across Rwanda next year, I'm going to run 180 miles across Rwanda. There's an organization I've already partnered with that does work with genocide survivors, and they help them heal through their trauma and ultimately create economic sustainability. So while I'm running, I'm not only going to help them raise funds through, as this thing gets more publicity and more publicity, which is starting to happen on a big scale, I can then also work with them on the ground, you know, actually get my hands dirty, so to speak. And that's really what I love about this, that it's not just kind of just the fundraising, which is obviously great because, you know, all these organizations need money, but actually getting my hands dirty, being on there, seeing it for real, and really getting that human experience. That's the big thing I'm really, really excited about. So on that website, you learn more. The foundation, the nonprofit foundation I'm starting, is just in the works of getting started, and I'm continuing to get. And that's why self-promotion is so important, you know, because that's getting me the publicity to expand my reach and ultimately make more of an impact.
Yeah, and this is a big thing because you've actually taken action. You've gotten publicity. Share some of the different places just so far. I mean, I know you've landed a lot of hits and you've got a lot of media expressing interest.
Yeah, I have. I've been fortunate. You know, I got on entrepreneur.com, Psychology Today, CNN. I've gotten some huge podcasts, the #1 travel podcast on iTunes, one of the top 5 entrepreneurial podcasts on iTunes, U.S. News and World Report. Forbes is coming out. I've got an interview next week with the #1 morning show in Australia, and some other TV outlets in U.S. starting to pick up as well. But I've intentionally focused my efforts on online with this kind of a strategic approach that I'm doing myself, and that's why I'm focusing right now on online media, and then segueing it into the television in the near future once I get my book complete.
That's great. Well, that's wonderful, man. I'm so proud of you. You definitely are. I just love seeing the success that you're having. Glad to have played a part in it, and thanks for what you're doing to help people combat their fear. And you know all about it, being a soldier, being a success coach, doing it now, and helping so many people do it as well. So check out Akshay's website, existing2living.com. That's with the number 2. And thanks for joining me.
Thank you so much, Steve. It's been a real honor and a real pleasure, and thank you for everything you've done to make this all happen.